Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up and I am here today to show you project number 2 from June 2022 Stamp Club. Stamp Club meets in my home once a month and we typically do 3 projects. I already filmed in a separate video project number 1. Now I'm going to show you project number 2. This month, all of our projects are using the Hues of Happiness Suite of products. So in card number 1, we did a little bit of stamping and used a lot of the designer series paper. That was kind of the star. This time we're going to also feature the paper and the dies, and you're going to learn a few fun things along the way. So let's get started. This is 2 examples of the card that we're going to be making, and I will make a third one with different colors, and you can see all of the steps. I also want to mention that I saw this card design and cased it from another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that I caught on YouTube, and I will give her credit down below in the description of my video. All right, so for starters, you're going to need a colored piece of cardstock that coordinates with the designer paper that you're using. And so on this card, I am using Daffodil Delight. And that piece is actually just a rectangle. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's all that the base is on this card. Then you'll need a piece of basic white. And this piece is a little bit odd size. So it is 5 1/4, but it's 5 1/4 by 8. So it's 5 1/4 in this direction by 8 inches, and then scored, now careful here, scored at 4 inches. Often we will have a piece that is folded that are different dimensions, but because this is not the outside or the biggest part of the card, this is a little bit smaller, it's been trimmed down, sized down. So this is 8 by 5 1/4, scored at 4 inches. This fold is going to be placed on top of our card base like this. But before we do that, we're going to take a square of designer series paper. This is a 4-inch square piece. And what we need to do on this piece before we attach it is get a diagonal fold. So I'm trying to see which way I want this to appear. Okay, I'm going to want this half of the triangle to appear on the front of my card, I think. I'm kind of torn. Okay, actually I'm just going to change my mind. I'm going to put my diagonal score line here. So this will be seen and this side will not be seen. So I'm liking that. Here, let me show you. I use this little ruler a lot. This is just a metal straight edge ruler. It is, you hear me say it all the time. I found this on Amazon and I use it almost every time I stamp. I will put a product linked to that in the description also. So if you can just imagine, this is where my fold is going to go. So I've got this side. I chose this because I'm going to see yellow, blue, pink. I'm going to see a lot of the colors. This side is mostly pink and that will end up being hidden. So you can do this diagonal score line on your Simply Scored, which is what I will typically do. But because I'm seated here for filming, I'll grab my trimmer and use the scoring blade in that. All right, so I'm going to lay this. These are my corners I want. I'm going to lay my corner into the little scoring groove and the bottom corner in the groove as well, the cutting or scoring groove. And then I want to make sure that I get my cutting blade out of the way before I close this. And then I'll make my score line. Now with your Simply Scored, usually you just have to use your tool and just make one motion. I find that with the scoring blade on the trimmer, you kind of need to go back and forth a few times. So there we have it. And now I've got my score line and I can easily fold this like so. All right, now we're ready to attach that to the white piece of the cardstock. All right, So this is actually going to go on the back flap like this. This is where it's going to get attached. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my adhesive onto here, and I'm going to take this white card and sandwich it in there and get my glue to stick. And as always, the liquid glue goes a long way. So you don't want to over glue so that you have glue squishing out or crinkling your paper. All right, so there's the glue on the back of my triangle, and I'm going to lay this piece right into the fold. Shut it, because now I can press everything down. Again, it's getting glued to this side. This is a real ingenious card design. I really like the fold and how it works. I'll probably make this card many more times and try different papers. Okay, now because our triangle now is a little bit larger than this white piece, we're simply going to take our snips and trim that off. So I'm just going to snip and snip. Like so. All right, so this is actually going to be the front like that. This is the inside, and it's going to close, and this piece comes over to the front. Let's do our stamping on this piece at this point. So I'm going to use the Happy Birthday stamp from that same set. We are using Happiness Abounds, and I'm going to use the Happy Birthday. I need to decide on an ink color. And I don't want to stamp any yellow, nothing against Daffodil Delight, but I like a little bit of darker ink for my words typically. So I know that Night of Navy is in this paper, so I'm going to use Night of Navy. And grab my stamp. I have a piece of scratch paper here, just to test it. Sometimes you need to get a feel. It's almost like getting warmed up for a sport. Okay, that's going to come out great. You got to get warmed up for your stamping experience. Sometimes you got to check your ink pad, see if it's inky enough. Sometimes it'll have kind of a dry spot in the middle, because we usually tend to just grab our stamps and go towards the middle. So it doesn't hurt at all to do 1 or 2 practice stamps before you stamp onto your project. All right, I want this to be in the bottom section and over to the left. Like so. All right, now let me take a couple moments and tell you some options, all right? The first option is this. I have used the paper. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a big chunk of it. This is some of the designs of the paper from that set of papers. And the set of papers, let me see what just the paper is called. Hues of Happiness. So it's 12 by 12 paper, and it's called Hues of Happiness. These are designed to coordinate with the dies. So there's a die for this flower. Here, let me pull these out. There's a die for this one. There is a die for this one. Okay, there's a bunch. There's a die. There's a couple different dies for the leaves. There's a die for this flower. All right, so you see where I'm headed. So what I've done is I die cut my pink and my yellow flowers and some leaves. Okay, but because this is designer series paper, it's rather thin, and the design of this card is going to require these flowers to hold this flap in place. So I'm going to toughen these guys up a little bit. So this first method of doing that is to die cut your flower and then also die cut just a plain white one, and we're just going to attach it to the back to give this some strength and some bulk. So I'm going to do that first. And then I will show you a secondary method that I learned on a different YouTube video, and I just thought it was so handy. And in fact, at Stamp Club, we will be doing the second method, but I wanted you to at least be able to see this method. So you can line that shape up quite easily. Now my yellow one is thicker and it's going to be handling the job much better. So let's do the same thing with the pink. Here is a little tip. When you have this flower and you're trying to figure out not only the die, but if you're gluing it to another white piece, this is what you want to look for. You want to look for this petal, and it has this shape on the end. It's like this shape. It's like a bracket. Okay, it's like a bracket shape, and you can see it right there. That is the easiest one to find on the die. See, there it is. So you can line that up. And because I'm going to glue this one on, I can at a glance see there's my little bracket shape, and that's where that's going to go. Oh, this must be upside down. There we go. Okay, perfectly lines up. So I thought that little hint might be helpful. Once I figure that out, when I'm getting ready to do my die cuts, I can find where that goes very quickly. I know you've done it too. I have, and you have, where you have a shape and you're like, nope, 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 until you finally get the way it goes. So it's nice when you have the quick go-to. All right, there's those. I also have some leaves, so some leaves. Let me see what I have here. All right, I have a white one to go underneath that. And I have a white one to go underneath this. Now these I just die cut ahead of time with the leaf die cut. Okay, and then I cut out a white one as well. So let me get these toughened up a little bit. All right, this one is a little bit of a darker green. I think one of the greens in here, if I'm not mistaken, is Mossy Meadow. And then Granny Apple Green is also in here. So you can kind of see the dark and the light leaves represented here. All right, so that is certainly a method that is not hard to do. And if you need to make your die cuts a little bit thicker, since they're going to be cut out of the designer paper, that is one way to do it. All right. Let me show you or talk you through another method. And this is what we did at Stamp Club. You can actually take our adhesive sheets, which are 6x12 sticky sheets, and you can attach the sticky sheet to the back. I'm trying to grab a paper here. You can attach your 6x12 sticky sheet to the back of this paper. This is the piece that we might want to die cut those flowers out. And after you have attached the sticky side down, you release that backing. There's a second pull off backing, and then onto that you would put your piece of white cardstock. So what you end up with is the whole thing is already backed by white cardstock. So you can see, or maybe you can tell, this is a lot thicker than just a piece of designer series paper. Okay, so that's what I did on these. I attached my adhesive sticky sheet to it, peeled off the backing, stuck my large piece. I actually had a 12x12 white, so it was great because it went the whole direction. Now when I die cut these, it's already double thick. Okay, so by doing this, there's my little bracket. So I would line this up like so. So once I run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, it's already toughened up. It's already thick. So I decided that on these particular pages, I would most often be die cutting all of these flowers and leaves out. So I made the entire packet already thick with my sticky sheets and my white cardstock. So all of these are ready to go. And then I trimmed them down into strips so that they will fit into my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because you can only have a 6-inch wide piece. So these pieces are all reinforced and ready for die cutting, and you don't have to do that extra step of cutting a white piece out. All right, you can see they've got the white cardstock on the back. All right, so that is the method that we actually did at Stamp Club. This time I just wanted to show you, if you're doing one or two, it's an easy fix to just attach it to some white cardstock. This one was already super thick from that other method. And then I've just got some random little leaves and some of those tiny flowers from the paper. Look at all these adorable little flowers. So I just fussy cut some of those out in case I need them. All right, let's decorate. So I'm going to take my 2 largest flowers that I've die cut that are thick now and strong. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. All right, so I'm going to put just one in the center of each one. Oh, I just had a delivery, probably Stampin' Up stuff. All right, so I've got my dimensionals in the center of these 2 flowers. And you know what? I'm going to take a moment and attach this to here because we're really in the final stages of this card. So let me get that attached. And then we'll put our flowers on. All right, so I'm going to center this onto my Daffodil Delight piece, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Like that. I am loving this on the yellow. This is the first one that I've done on the Daffodil Delight. Okay, now let's put our flowers on. I'm gonna just get an eyeball of where I want these to go. I'm gonna put my pink one there, my yellow one there, and then I'm gonna use these smaller pieces to just tuck in and around. But these 2 are going to do the job of holding that little flap down. Okay, so I'm gonna peel off the back of this. I want to place it so that for sure my dimensional doesn't go onto the flap, but it goes onto the white cardstock so that this is still free, okay? And then, but I want to see where it's going to go. And then this one, same thing. I want to make sure my sticky doesn't land on here, but it goes onto the white cardstock. Let's position my flower how I want it. Okay, like that. Then I think I'll take this little flower die cut and tuck it in. I've got decisions to make. One thing to be careful of when you're placing your flowers is remember that the edge of this white card, that is what is going to open and shut. So if you have something that's hanging off the white, maybe not off the yellow, but off the white, it's going to get crunched when you open your card. So you don't want anything hanging off of the white edge. So this would be a little bit questionable right there. Let's see where it looks good. Each one is going to be a little different because it depends on where you're building and where you're putting your flowers. Okay, on this one, I'm going to go up here. So this is going to be flat, just by choice. You can do what you want with all your little bits and pieces. All right, so that one's going to tuck in there. I like it. And then I have at least 3. I've got 4 different sets of leaves that I can use. So I'm going to see where they look good. This one fills a lot of that white space. This dark one kind of looks good popping out of here. So I might leave that there. Let's see if we even need this at all. It's going to be pretty much hidden if I shove it back in there enough. Can't get a hold of it. There we go. This one's a little bit smaller. Let's see what it looks like if it can sneak in here. Oh yeah, see, that one's going to be perfect. So again, if you just have some parts, you can kind of play with it and decide where you want everything. Do I want more leaves back here? You could, but I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Okay, let's put those into place. So I'm going to do this one flat. I will probably do all my leaves flat on this one, but that's not a rule. I'm sure on my other examples, some of the leaves are popped up. All right, there's that one. Now, remember just a couple moments ago when we attached these flowers, I only used one dimensional right in the center. By doing that, it leaves all those edges free so that you can tuck these little parts in. If I had used dimensionals all around the flower, it would be harder to find the spots to tuck in. So not only did we only use 2 dimensionals, but it was also really for the greater good of putting the card together. And then this little one was not die cut. It was just fussy cut, and it is not double thick. You can see the back side of the designer series paper, but it doesn't have any reason to have to be super strong because it's just attached to the front of the card. So I wasn't too worried about it needing to be backed. I like how that looks. Okay, so there we go. Now you can see the mechanics of it, and then we're going to come in and just put some gems to dress this up. So this flap untucks, and it's kind of neat because you end up seeing the inside or the other side of your designer series paper. In this instance, it's that yellow painted look. I'll show you the other ones where the flap looks different. And then we have the inside. Now, while I'm looking at this, let's put some stamps on the inside too. I wasn't sure I was going to, but now I have decided. So I'm going to stick with my Night of Navy. I'm going to use the stamp that I used on project number 1 from Stamp Club June 2022. We used this stamp. So I'll put this one here, wishing you all the happiness you can imagine. I think that goes well with the happy birthday on the front. And then another fun thing to do if you want to add another stamp on the inside, but I don't want this to be too busy or fussy. This has a lot going on. So on this, I actually want to grab my gray ink pad. This is gray granite. I just want a soft bit of color. I'm going to see if I want to stamp it off. This would be right from the ink pad. This would be second. I'm going to do this. So pick up my ink, stamp it off, and then just a really soft little image right there. I love how that looks. Okay, so that was kind of fun. I think I'm going to do that more often. Okay, so this closes. This triangle flap of designer series paper tucks in like so, and now let's add some gems. These are the Glossy Dots assortment. Super bright, shiny, and beautiful. And so I think I'm going to use a variety of colors. You know, it's up to you. So I'm going to use, all right, I've got blue up here. So I'm going to choose to use a blue one at the bottom. We'll balance out our blues. So I'm going to put one down here. And I think I'll do a pink over here and a yellow up here. That's the plan. Let's see what that ends up looking like. Yep, I like it. You could use rhinestones. You could use any number of different embellishments on here. You know, I think I want to use one of these large pink ones in the center here as well. Why not? And now I have a decision to make, to use a yellow one there or not. Let's eyeball what it might look like. I don't know if it'll be too much. Not too much. Let's do it. So as I have just done right in front of you, you can kind of decide as you go. My other examples, I'll bring them back in, did not use two of the large flowers. Oh, that one did. I'm reaching for the other ones. So it just depends on what you want to do. We'll pull those out and compare. And that is project number 2 from Stamp Club this month. If you missed Stamp Club, I'm glad you got to at least see the projects that we made. And if you are curious about what Stamp Club is or getting involved, you can always message me and let me know of your interest and I will get back to you. It is an in-person event, and so you do need to live nearby, but there are also other online classes and options. As I'm talking with you here at the end, I'm also showing you how some of those other little flowers could certainly be added to this card. I won't take the time to do it right now, but you can see how you could fill in even more if you wanted to. So that is our card for today. Let me bring in those other examples. I think I had 2 of them. Where did they go? All right, so this one is on Pool Party. All right, so this one is pretty similar, and I did use 2 gems on that one. And then I have one that I built on Melon Mambo, and on this one I only used the gems there and not on the flowers. So it's totally up to you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it so much. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and be sure to click the notifications bell. That way you will be notified every time I put a new video up. Thank you. Bye. See you next time.